Shanti. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Meditation Center of Connecticut and Brahma Kumari's World Spiritual Organization, we welcome you to the Saturday's workshop. Today's topic is Game of Life and how we take it, developing an attitude of play instead of pressure. So that's the topic, and today's facilitator is Sister Priya Moore. And probably you already probably know because she has given several sessions here, but I'll introduce her anyway. She's a resident of the Brahma Kumari's Learning and Retreat Center in Catskills. It's called Peace Village, and also she has been practicing Raja Yoga for a long time. And let's see how she walks us through with her practice of Raja Yoga with this topic. Thank you. And this is Sister Priya. Welcome.
Thank you, Suresh, and thank you for that warm welcome. It's great to be with this family, Zoom family, connected to Danbury and Connecticut. So thank you. The thought was that why don't we start with a few more moments of a thought experiment. We can be in meditation for some time. And I'll just say a few words so we can be in that perspective. So we just choose a good posture, keep your back upright, and mind should be alert. You could choose to keep your feet flat on the ground or in any other sitting posture is also good, like cross-legged posture. And you can choose to keep your eyes open if possible. Just focus gently on any point in front of you. And the main aim of this meditation is to pay attention to the inner world. And the one who is paying attention is this invisible, living, tiny point of light. We experiment with this point of light is as if watching a game. Point of light is in his home. Just watching a game and enjoying it. We stay with this in silence. Thank you. So the topic today is about developing an attitude of game towards life. And who feels happy when they hear this word game and play? Anybody wants to raise their hand? Yes. So it's, when we are children, and you may have heard this quote by George Bernard Shaw that when it's not because we that we grow old and hence we stop playing, but because we stop playing, we grow old. So we all have heard that there is a child at heart in all of us who wants to play. And we see that whenever small children, especially up to the age of 8 or so, anything happens in their house, in their community, in their surroundings, um, there may be not a very good environment. Also, there may be fights happening or whatever, right? There may be calamity outside, but still the children will find something to play with in that age group. So that attitude of play really helps us. And maybe a question first for all of us to start thinking about this topic before we come to the spiritual aspect of it. What game are we talking about? But just when we hear this word game, what makes us feel so happy about it? What is it about a game that we like when we are playing a game? Um, what changes in us internally? What are the feelings associated with the game? So maybe if you can share, take a minute to reflect while I bring up the whiteboard, and then we can share. Oh, there are already many answers coming up, which is great.
Yeah.
So you want to read the Siddharth?
Yeah. So it's Carefree is by Joyla, and Radha Moore says happiness. And then I would like to add there are wins and loses. So it means like we can win and lose the game.
Mhm. Yes. So very nice, no? That there is a certain sort of lightness that comes with this attitude of play, and that makes it enjoyable, right? Because the same thing, if we had to do without this attitude of play sometimes, right, then it seems like pressure. So let's take this example of, everybody's heard about Ian Goranovsevich, a very good tennis player, right? Racket tennis player. And he trained for years and years, and he even held the world championship for a few years. And at one point, he made the statement uh, that in a match he was so nervous. It was a finals match. He was so nervous that he couldn't even lift the racket. He didn't have the energy or the power to lift the racket as somebody who's a world champion is saying something like this at the point when he has to play the match. And all that was missing in that case was, anybody wants to take a guess? Somebody who's trained to play a match and a game is saying something like this. What is happening? Yes. Yes, Patricia, go ahead.
Well, he was missing his self-confidence.
Self-confidence. But he trained so many years, no, to be there, and he had won many championships before as well. So
But, something may have happened that would change it for that particular time for him.
yeah,
That day he didn't feel confident.
yeah, yeah. Mm. Anybody else?
Just have fun.
Just have fun. Yeah, yes. So when we lose that attitude of just having fun, when we start to take the game very seriously, yeah, that is where we become nervous, and we start to feel the pressure as if the nerves are, are becoming so burdensome that we can't even lift the racket anymore. And something similar happened to Kanupriya as well. She was playing badminton at she back in her younger days. She was representing the state in India, and again, months and years of training, and she was good at what how she was playing as well. But when the state level match came, um, I just said that to my coach. I said, I cannot do it. I don't want to play this match anymore. And then he, took me aside. He took time from the referee because the match was about to start and I was refusing to go on the court. And he actually took me outside for 5-10 minutes, and he just told me that it's just a game. It's not the end of your life, right? It's okay to win, like Brother Suresh was saying. There are some wins, there are some losses. He reminded me that also that how I had the skills. That is why I actually was there, right? I had won many competitions to be able to be at that particular match. So of course, what Patricia is saying, I lost my self-confidence in a way, but why that loss of self-confidence at that moment was because I started thinking about the play as not a play, but as something much bigger, right? Taking it seriously and not just a game. And that is why that happened. Anything, Patricia? Yes, go ahead.
So do you think what happens at that particular time is that the ego gets in the way?
Yes, we'll talk about it. Ego. Yes, but just this attitude changes, right? That it is no more a game, but the results start to matter a lot in the head, right? So that is all that is happening at that moment, and that is where even medical science says that there is a certain state of balance in the brain that happens. We all have heard about left brain and right brain, right? And what the left brain does is that it basically wants to win, right? In the left brain, and it aims for higher goals, right? Aims for goals, and this the spirit of competition is also there in the left brain, right? And then whatever we trained in, right, the skills, they are also brought to the forefront by the left brain. They are stored in the left brain, and then they are brought forward. And also in the left brain there is this um, 1 second. Yeah, so in the left brain, there is this thing about yes, seriousness is the left brain function. And left brain also wants to work hard. So that sort of attitude of achieving something that is there and then left brain also wants to follow rules. So that those are some of the functions of the left brain. Whereas on the other side, the right brain is more about, uh, you know, that instead of being serious, like somebody said, more carefree, that, just looking at the game as just a game, no matter whether you win or lose, right? They can accept, that right brain can accept victory or defeat with the same sort of equanimity. And it doesn't matter. He's playing with the person who's playing with the right brain is playing for fun. The result don't really matter. And also they can see the bigger picture, right? The bigger map, as in that there is a life beyond the game. So that is also very much active in the brain if the right brain is active. And when you become carefree, means you are not so serious, right? It doesn't mean that you are not really playing with all that you have, right? All the skills that you have, but being carefree, not so serious about it, helps to express all of those skills in the best manner. And there is definitely a certain lightness that is associated with the right brain. So when what we call as a balanced brain, right? That brain is a brain that can effectively use both the functions, the left and the right. And medical science says that actually when we have this attitude of a play and a game, there is a natural balance in the mind that is there. And that is why not just we enjoy the game, right, but we also play to win. So all of those skills, and we want to also further develop and hone our skills as if, right, when we are playing with the right attitude. And on the game, at the court, in the case of a tennis match or a badminton match, uh, you recognize that the opposite party is an opponent, right? But off the court, you may be best friends, right? But when you're playing with that attitude of just a game. So what is it that in the spiritual world, what is it that we are saying is a game? And that is where we come to this fact that the game is actually looking at our life as a game. So the more we look at life as a game, the more the challenges that life has for us, right? We start to not just enjoy those challenges, right? Because we see them as just tests, right? Which makes us better in honing our skills, right? A tennis player, a world champion cannot say that that why is the opponent strong, why is he striking an ace every time at me, right? But as a world champion, I will try to take that ball every time, right? Hit that ball every time and return it as strong as possible. So to look at life as a game, life is this physical world, right? That means that our existence in this body, in the physical world, right? And all of the other things that come in this physical world, whether It is, the objects we interact with, the house we live in, the nature that is there, right? And the relationships and everything else, right? All of that is part of that playground, the game, right? But uh, that is just a game. That is just the playground. That is not all our life. That is the spiritual perspective. And the moment we start to discover that or rediscover that we are, that we have a home behind, beyond this life of game where we belong to, there is a certain sense of eternal security that comes in. So, so again, if we take the case of any match, right, the tennis match that we were saying, uh, we the tennis player, right, he knows that after there is a time period for the match, right, and after that time period is over, then he has this family, right? His true family is not on the playground, right? His true family is beyond the playground. And beyond the playground is his home. And in the home, there are loving parents, loving children, and there is also this sense of belonging there, right? He knows that playground is just where he goes and plays and acts for some time, right? He's a player for some time. But rest comes from, and the security comes from beyond, right? And if we take the example of computer games, especially, right? There is a primary world, right? And there is a secondary world. So primary world is your reality, right? The true home where you belong. And the secondary world is the world of the virtual game in the case of a computer game, right? Now, there comes a time, and many of us may have read this already because it comes up so many times. Sometimes what is happening that, especially in this case of virtual games, right? Computer games, it's as if, uh, you know, the the player gets so involved in or sucked in by the computer game, that virtual game, that he becomes emotionally disconnected with the primary world, right? There are cases where the child who's involved in the computer game, he stops talking to parents and society and friends. He stops eating, sometimes at the verge of even, dying. Some have committed suicide also because of this, because they get totally disconnected, emotionally disconnected from the reality, and they start to think as the secondary world, the game world, as the real world. And that brings all of these negative or the downward spiral in this case, right? Um, but when we are in the right attitude, right, that when we see the secondary world as the secondary world, but we are fully connected with the primary world, then we can enjoy the game, the secondary world, and also enjoy the primary world, right? And the benefits that the primary world gives us, they are real, right? What the primary world gives us, those are real attainments, real security, right? So that is why it is important to be reconnected to our reality, our primary world. And when we talk about our primary world, we are referring to this invisible point of light, living being, right? And some of you have attended these sessions before, so I will just take you through just what, it's good to revise sometimes. So in this world, right, from the primary world, what we call the home of this tiny point of light, the soul, who's the player, the real player, he comes for a temporary period of time on this playground of life, in the game of life, and plays his whatever he has to do in the game. He does that, and then there is an exit from the game, right? There is an end to the game, and then he returns back home, right, to be refreshed, rejuvenated. And the more we see that this eternal reality, in this eternal home, there is immortality. The real player, this point of light, is actually immortal. He feels absolutely secure. So no matter whether he wins or loses in the game, or whether the game is there, he gets to play or doesn't get to play, all of those things, right? If somebody is taking the ball away from him, right, trying to take all the credit in the game, right, he's getting penalties in the game, or he's getting awards for his good performance, everything he sees as just a game. Nothing is serious about any of those things. He doesn't take happiness or sadness from what is happening in the game, because he knows that his truth and his real happiness, his real comfort, belongingness, security, or everything, right, comes from the world beyond the true home. So the more we start to discover this, right, security, the eternal security that is imperishable, the more we start to enjoy the game. So we may have, some of us may have sat in a roller coaster ourselves, or at least know someone who has, who has been in a roller coaster. So I have this friend of mine who really enjoys a roller coaster. And I asked her, what is it that you enjoy in the roller coaster? Because it takes you all topsy-turvy, up and down, right? Your head is over your heels many times, and you don't know, it is unpredictable, right? You don't know where it will move, how it will move next. And some people, right, they really look forward to this experience of being in a roller coaster. And she says that, yes, I enjoy it a lot, because I know nothing will happen to me. There is a safety belt that is protecting me. So even if I go like this and that, there is a safety belt that is there protecting me, not letting me fall. I know that I'm safe. So that sort of security we start to discover in our game of life when we start to see this whole existence of ours in the physical realm as a game. It is an extra. It is an extra thing that is there. It is not, it is good if it is there. If it is not there, also all good. It is an extra game that is happening. But the real world is totally different. And we belong to that reality, that real world. So this is a very deep attitude, that if we have this sort of tuning, right, that even if in a game, if the secondary world or the game world is cancelled, for example, right, but still the player knows that that the primary world is absolutely intact. There is an assurance that that world is still there, that stability that comes from something, the home and the family, the true family of these points of light, right? If we know that that always exists, right? There is a constancy in the existence of the truth, right? The true home. Then um, there is a certain sense of contentment, peace, um, and even if we go to play, right, in this, with this sort of security and assurance within our hearts, that we are just going to play to enjoy, right? And in an extra world, there is nothing needed in that world. It is just for fun, right? Then we start to also be creative, right? And see how we can play well. And so, it's a very something that we can actually develop over a period of time, right? So, for example, we can, we have been emphasizing many times that we can actually develop this habit of coming into the perspective of a play or a game. Maybe every hour, just take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, how much ever you can give that much time. Just come in within that 1-2 minutes, see that whatever you are doing, even right now in this Zoom class, right? Whatever we are seeing, whatever we are listening to, right? Whatever is in our surroundings at home or work or wherever we are, that is part of a game. And this tiny point of light, who's the real player, invisible tiny point of light, he is separate from this world of game. And his home is separate, his family is separate, and nothing and no one can harm this invisible point of light. He's beyond harm. And no matter, somebody may be pushing and pulling him in this physical world, in the world of game, but this tiny point of light, nobody can even touch him. He's invisible, without a body, right? Just a point of light. So this deep sense of security that sets in when when we rediscover and reconnect to our reality, that gives us the confidence and the power to deal with this game that has a lot of challenges.
So let's see if anyone has any comment, question. Maybe you can put it in the chat or have a question. Yeah, we can continue this.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Sister, you said something very deep and which is true also. But when we are dealing in day-to-day situation with somebody or the situation comes up, so somebody says something which is not of our liking or something, somebody is very rude, your response, actually maybe your reaction is not for the what it should be, like, okay, it's a game, somebody says something, that's fine, I should take it lightly, but you tend to react. So how can at the time, I mean, right now, when nothing is happening, mind is quiet, uh, everything is making sense, but when the situation comes, you tend to react. So how to kind of remember this, if you can say, at the time when the real test comes of the life?
Yes. So similar to, you can't become a world champion in one day, no? We all have that knowledge that that to become a world champion, you have to train yourself, right? Over years and years, a lot of training has to be done. And all sorts of training, how to hit the ball, strength training and cardio and this and that, right? Everything needs to be in place before you go for the match, right? Again, in my example of badminton, when I went for that match, right, I had trained for at least 3 or 4 years. And especially during summertime, we used to, we, I think once a week is when we used to touch the shuttle. We were given a racket and a shuttle, right? Rest of the 7 days a week, for 3 4 months during summers, we were just doing other kinds of training, to build our strength and muscle and stamina, and even the strokes, for the play. Meaning to say that that we don't have to wait for the situation to come or the challenge to come in life, right? To be able to pass it. When the going is good, then is the time to actually train and build your muscle. And this is where we are saying that if we can take that 1 or 2 minutes every hour, from today, starting today, and see the reality, right? That when we keep practicing that this is a game, even though everybody is good with me right now, nobody is saying anything rude to me right now, but the goodness is also part of the game, right? I am not happy because of the goodness in the game and everything being smooth in the game, right? But my happiness is still coming from beyond the game. And that happiness is an eternal happiness, right? Because I'm immortal with the true family, with the true parent, the supreme soul, who's the parent of this invisible point of light. So when we keep drawing happiness from what is eternal, what is constant, then when the game changes, right? Now somebody is pushing and pulling, right? In the game, then you don't complain or you don't react, because you did not take happiness from the game and the game being smooth and good. You will also now not take sadness or sorrow from the pushing and pulling that is happening in the game. Yeah. So just build this practice over a period of time, and then see how you do in the next test. When the next match comes, the next opportunity comes to show your skills, you'll be ready, isn't it? that okay, now I can show the opponent, because the one who's talking to you rudely is your opponent, who you can show your skills, what you have learned.
So sometimes we forget, even though no matter
how much you practice, right? Sometimes we forget. But what I noticed is that the other students who are practicing, they remind us that, you know what, this is what it is. So sometimes that helps too. So just wanted to share my experience of if I'm involved, if I'm totally involved in the situation, and then to pull me out, someone else helps me, you know, to pull that out of that. So
yeah, very good point. So good company, right? Good players have other good players for as their friends, right? And the best company and the best thing, the best strategies are given by the coach. No? So our coach in this game is the Supreme Soul, the one who has clarity, right? Always the one who never forgets that this is a game. And if we keep his company, then, and his company can be just through the mind, right? We just have to feel the presence of this supreme coach, the supreme parent, And the more we are in his company, the clarity that he has, that as if gets transferred to us as well, right? So he always sees the game as a game. He never takes it seriously. He sees the game as an extra, and also he sees the reality always as it is, the real home, the reality of the true player, his child. All of that he's very clear about. So they say the company colors. No? So through the mind, when we take the company of this coach, then we can get strength and power to play this game to the best of our ability. And of course, the other friends, right, can also remind us if we are getting drawn into the game and taking it seriously, then other friends of ours, like this particular group as well, we can remind each other that, okay, you're not in the game attitude anymore. Come back. So that's very good. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That's very helpful. Basically, what you're saying is, and there's no situation, then keep reminding yourself that's a game. And then at the time when situation comes up, maybe you will be more aware that, oh, it's another part of the game. Things are not going as well as they were. And then you may not react, and maybe you will be more, you will rather give a proper response rather than reacting. So as you said, practice, practice, practice before the situation comes, before the game comes. So yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. And sometimes, like we are saying that in the game, we know ahead of time that sometimes we will win and sometimes we will lose, right? But when we lose, when we are still reacting, for example, we practice, 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 and still one day somebody said something rude to me and I still reacted, right? Then the point is not to go into guilt that time, that or give up the practice because you didn't pass. Right? You thought that now I will pass for sure because I practiced, and with all honesty I practiced for 30 days. I practiced, for example, right? But then situation came and I again reacted, right? So in that case, we just recognize that, yes, yeah, this is what happened. And this third person perspective, right? If we just sit down with ourselves for 5-10 minutes and see what happened, right? As a third person, just see, again, just watching the game, no? That just happened. So this is what you must have heard, even all these good world champion players. What they do is to win over the next the opponent next time, right? If they lost the match this time, then to win over the opponent, the same opponent next time, they keep watching the game, the recording of the game of the opponent in various matches, right? They keep watching that. And in that, they analyze what is the weakness of that opponent. They and the strengths also, right? So they know the game of the opponent better than themselves. And then this is what I think Roger Federer did, right? To defeat Boris Becker in the beginning and everything, that he used to watch. So like that, as a third person, now that I reacted, right? Just go over that scene as a third person and see that scene, that situation that just happened, and see how you can do it differently next time, how you can behave in a different manner next time, so that if a similar situation comes next time, then you will pass it. So you have to see this, your strength, and also the weakness of that opponent or that situation, how it can be changed with my response. So the more we play this kind of winning uh, memory in our mind, that this is the way we can win, right? Then when the situation actually comes, then you will definitely win. Slowly and gradually this will happen. So what really happens is 100% sometimes you may not, you may want to win 100% score, right, in the first match itself. But what happens is the intensity and the frequency of those reactions will start reducing gradually over time if you keep practicing. So to see the small victories also as wins, right? And not to give up the practice. That would be my suggestion in order to be 100% victorious and become world champion. So that is what really helps me to sit back and observe if something has happened. Yeah. Okay, so how do we develop this game attitude, right? Now, what spiritual knowledge is telling us that there is this amazing world of play, but more amazing is the world, is the true world, right? So the more we keep ourselves in the memory or the experience of the reality, then we want to really um, be totally as if detached in a way, right? As in not being pulled by whatever is happening on the playground, right? And even our karma, right? What happens is it changes when we start to feel the security of the home, right? Because then we are not getting into the pettiness of the game, right? That small things are not disturbing us anymore. And we are not looking at several things in a limited manner, right? Uh, there is a possibility that we are able to see totally, right? Even the most difficult situations and challenges, we are able to see them as just very easy, right? When the mind is free, right, and light, then it is, then we can come up with better strategies to deal with the challenges, right? Otherwise, we are always saying, in that limited perspective, limited thinking, we are always saying that, oh, why is this happening to me? Why is this person giving me such a difficult ball? This is not fair. This is not justified. I don't deserve this. Yeah, why me? All of those questions keep coming. And the more we get entangled in those questions, the more we feel very burdened and we cannot think of a solution, right? Because mind goes in circles in such cases, right? And the way, the spiritual answer to that is that you see the game as a game, right? When you come out, even for 1 minute, if you come out, there is no more confusion in the mind. The mind becomes clear and a better solution to the challenge you can think of, right? In clarity. Right? When there is confusion, even if the solution comes up, it may not be the best solution, right? And this is why we are re-emphasizing that we connect with the Supreme, who's always clear, who has that clarity about the game. Yeah. So in our meditation, in some time, we will do this practice, yeah, of how we can connect with an attitude of a game. I do want to answer Patricia's question in the beginning about ego, right? So in this case, we are saying that ego is nothing but a false identity that we have created for ourselves. And if we start to think that I am this player, yeah, in the case of this one, it is Kanupriya, right? So ego just means that Kanupriya's world is this world, right? The world of the game. And that is a false identity we are learning in the spiritual perspective. Now, when the game world becomes all that there is, now if there is no game, then this false identity called Kanupriya, right, feels that Kanupriya will also not exist, right, if there is no game. And hence, the ego doesn't want the game to finish, right, because Kanupriya's importance is based on the game, right? So her identity is totally based on the game, right? If the game is not there, no, so then that's why you see many players, world champions, they after they retire, they feel that they're nothing, right? So actually they never want to give up playing, right, in an ideal situation, but just because of the age and other factors, they have to let go. So that ego of, that importance of the game is because the ego doesn't want to die. So ego doesn't want to make the game small. It wants to make it important all the time. And it will find different reasons to make the game important. Sometimes it may be the relationship, sometimes it may be money related, sometimes it may be, related to the house or whatever, right? It could be based on anything, but the primary agenda of the ego is that this game should not finish, right? But now we know, now that we are learning these things in our spiritual studies, that actually there is a beginning to the game and there is an end to the game, right? And there is a beginning to the player, this body, right? And also an end to this body, right? Although we are aware, but we are not playing. Ego is not letting us live in this belief, right? So making the game more important, as if, Kanupriya has to be immortal, right? But when we come to know the truth that it is the real player, this point of light, who's the immortal being, and the security coming from there, then we are able to let go of this game and view the game as it is in its true sense. Does that help, Patricia? It's a very interesting dynamic of the ego.
Yes, thank you very much. It does help. I had to unmute myself.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. So maybe I'll just revise. I think there is a, there is a request to just replace. So what we are saying is that we are in the spiritual perspective, we are looking at our life on this physical earth as a game. And just like in any game, there is a primary world and a secondary world, right? The secondary world is the game world. is the court, for example, or the playground, or in a computer game, the virtual game is a is the secondary world, but the primary world is the main world, right? Is the truth where the real player lives. And in this, with this attitude, we start to see that this physical existence, right, including this physical body, in my case, Kanupriya's body, is just extra. That is not primary. That is a second part of the secondary world, right? And the more we discover, and who's discovering this point of light, this tiny point of light, the invisible soul is discovering, reconnecting to his reality of the home beyond. And in that home beyond, we see that we are eternal beings of light who are immortal. And the security from that world beyond is also constant, always there. That brings a sort of stability and grounding in our perspective when we see that these two worlds are completely different. And we start to enjoy the game when we discover the security of the true home and the true family, the points of light. And also we have the true coach, the supreme coach, the supreme parent of this player, who always has this clarity that this is a game, and that it has a beginning and an end. And there will be unpredictability in the game, right? There will be wins and losses in the game, but he never mixes the two worlds, right? He's always connected to the reality. And that connection with the Supreme is as if brings us this tiny point of light also back into the truth about ourselves and also about our existence in this world, the physical world. And then what happens when we are free, right? When the mind is free like this, it is light, then we start to enjoy the game, right? And we play it to the best of our ability also when the mind is sort of clear and free. So we can bring out all our skills in the right manner. All right, so hope that was a good summary. Did I miss out anything, Brother Suresh? You want to
No, we're good. Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, so once if anyone has any questions, any more before we go into a closing reflection. I have two requests, and I will once this is ready, then I will email Kelly and Joyla. So I got that request, and then I'll have Alicia email to both of you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so let us then do our meditation. Come into the awareness of the home. The true home. Of this true self. Is a world of light. For the true self, we can use this image of a tiny point. The true home. There is no movement. This true home is beyond sound and noise of the game. That is the true family of tiny points. And the true parent. Is the supreme parent. In the company of the supreme parent, the tiny point feels very secure. Because he's aware that he's immortal, eternal being of light. He's the one that is beyond harm. He's bodiless, perfect being. He needs nothing from the game, the physical world existence. He views the game as an extra. Game is there to play and enjoy. He knows that the game is temporary, has an end. And so he is wise. Not to take the game seriously. The game is meant to have fun. In the game, somebody may be rude, somebody may be making a fault, somebody may be hitting the ball in the wrong way. But that is all a part of the entertaining game. When this point of light can see the game as a game, he has no expectations for the game to be a certain way. He can accept the game as it is. Because he's not there to take anything from the game. If he wins, is good. If he doesn't win, also good. Next time, he will be prepared to win. In the loss, there is something for him to learn. And make himself better. So this tiny point of light, the real player, does not mix the primary and the secondary world. He sees them as two distinct worlds and makes a choice to keep the primary world, the home, as the main thing. His treasures are incognito from the security of the home. Those treasures are of peace and happiness, true love. And contentment coming from perfection and immortality. So we aim for the rest of the day to keep our connection alive with our primary world of the home. And enjoy playing the game for a temporary period, not to get stuck there, but play for a short time and come back to your home. Shanti.
Shanti, thank you, Sister Kanapriya, and thank you all for joining. And if anyone is interested in the Raja Yoga classes, then you have the email address that this email comes from, right? Like for this workshop. So if anybody needs that email, I can send it here. And we'll see you all in the next workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.